Darcy Thachek. I am the reproductive emotional health therapist here at Victory Reproductive Care, and I'm going to be hosting Fact or Fiction tonight.
Okay, so now Twitter and everybody came up.
And so for Fact or Fiction tonight, we've got a little bit of a change up. Dr. Victory was called out to the hospital for an emergency. So I am going to be the exclusive host tonight, and I'm going to be the one for you here to answer all your questions around stress and infertility. So my
give them a couple seconds. Tell them give a couple seconds.
I'll just give you a couple of seconds right now so everyone can join. And because we got Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube, so lots of different forums. So just take a moment for everyone to join. I hope everyone's doing really well in this unpredictable time. I hope everyone's remaining safe, and we're all doing our part to kind of plank the curve and ensure that we all remain safe with the COVID-19 virus. So I hope everyone's just doing well. So for Fact or Fiction tonight, we're going to focus on the very first part that Rahi Victory begins with is an article to talk about the research around a specific topic, and ours is the stress and infertility connection. So the article is from Rooney and Domar. This article was published in 2018, and it highlights the fact that 1 in 8 couples struggle with infertility. So the fact of getting pregnant and sustaining pregnancy. And despite the prevalence of infertility, there is a high proportion of couples that don't share this with their family and friends, which increases their psychological vulnerability, which is really sad, considering that there's so much support out there for families and individuals. So another study in 2004, which utilized a psychiatric interview, they interviewed 122 women before their first infertility clinic visit. And the results were absolutely striking. 40% of women were diagnosed as having anxiety, depression, or both before even coming to their very first visit here or at the clinic that they are supported by. Another article, Volston and colleagues reported that 31% prevalence of psychiatric symptoms, the most common of which was major depression. And also another Danish study of 42,000 women who underwent ART treatment were screened for depression prior to treatment, and 35% screened positive. So there's a lot of research here to talk about the debate around stress and infertility and, the correlation between the two. Another recent literature review looked at the prevalence of psychological symptoms in infertility, concluded that 25% to 60% of couples or individuals experience infertility reported psychiatric symptoms, and that their levels of anxiety and depression were higher than infertile couples or individuals. So that's a very high level. Another interesting fact that we found in the research around the correlation of does stress cause infertility was that we found that the more depressed a woman that was struggling with infertility experienced, she was more likely to drop out of treatment. And this wasn't even based on the prognosis or, finances. It was the reason for discontinuation was based on psychological reasons. So that's incredibly impactful and incredibly discouraging for women and couples. And so another study looked at just over 500 women in the United States of America, and they looked at biomarkers of stress. And what they found was that they looked at that there was just much higher measures of psychological symptoms, and it had a negative impact on infertility. So can everybody just give me a thumbs up that you can hear me properly?
On Instagram.
On Instagram? Just want to make sure everybody can hear me. Is there anyone that can just give me a thumbs up that you can hear me properly on Instagram? Okay, great. Thank you so much. So just looking at the literature and the correlation between stress and infertility, and it's been an ongoing debate for quite some time. And what we're going to say, based on the research, it is a fact that stress causes infertility. And that's why I'm here today, because I am the one at Victory Reproductive Care that supports individuals and families through their journey to conception and parenthood. And so one thing about my therapy here is that it's very inclusive in the broader philosophy of the clinic. We look at the mind, body, and the whole person. And so we have myself for the emotional wellness. We have Dr. Victory for his expertise. We have a naturopathic doctor. We have a dietitian. And we have a psychologist, we have support groups that we run. So what we offer here and what we feel is best for anyone walking through their fertility journey is that they're supported holistically from a number of different disciplines in order to have optimal wellness and success. So once again, I hope everybody heard that Dr. Victory was called out to the hospital on an emergency, so it'll be me tonight supporting you. The first thing I want to make sure you're doing is or feeling is that you're comfortable and that you're watching this from the comforts of a safe place. And I'd encourage you to get some water or a cup of tea and wrap yourself in a blanket or get a pillow to hold on to. I just really want you to have an experience of comfort and be able to feel soothed during this time. I want to say thank you for showing up tonight. This is a time for you, and I want to honor that you were able to be here with us in this wonderful community and at a very difficult time with the pandemic and all the different emotions that is kind of bringing up in all of us. So I just want to honor the fact that you're here today with us and that we can support each other. If anyone has any great tips that they want to share, go ahead and do that. That's wonderful. We can learn from each other and sit back, relax, and we can start answering some of the questions. Thank you. I'm cutting out on Facebook. It's a bit blurry. Okay. So any questions on Instagram or we're just going to have a quick look and see if anybody has any questions they want to ask. Okay, so we have one question on Facebook. And does that include good stress as well as bad stress? We're talking about the article. I would imagine, the article really just talks about, doesn't define if it was good stress or bad stress. I would imagine that it's how you define and go through the process. I think stress in itself, there's always good stress, but when we go through the fertility journey, from my experience, it does weigh heavily on one's mindset and their overall wellness. And I think that's what we're looking at. I think most couples have 12 months before they are diagnosed with infertility and before they are able to come to a clinic to see a specialist. And even before that time, they generate, the anxiety increases and the stress enhances to a point where right before the first visit, they're already experiencing this high level of anxiety and depression. So, I do believe in good stress. Absolutely. It propels us forward and it keeps us focused. But in this case, it is quite detrimental to the overall journey through to conception. So another question. So right now, I can't answer any medical questions, so we're going to have to defer that to Dr. Victory. He might pop in at the very end, so he'll scroll through all the questions and answer them at that time, okay? So really my focus today as the therapist is to focus on the emotional wellness and your emotional journey. And how that relates to your physical wellness, your spiritual wellness. And we can get into some self-care skills. We can talk about, your relationship with each other and your communication. But right now too, with the virus and our isolation, our physical isolation, I say, instead of social isolation. That was actually something that I learned about through Dr. Bruce Perry. He's an American psychiatrist, and he is the founder of the ACEs study on trauma. And he said, he is the founder of the belief and believes very much in the number one source of support is through relationships and through connections. And when the government deemed this to be social distancing, he wanted to reterm that to physical distancing, because we are physically having to distance each other, not socially, because we need to be connected, we need to be with each other. So I think that if we keep that in our mindset as well, that it is a distance isolation, not socially, because we have to remain connected to others, as it's very important for our emotional well-being. So sorry, I think I kind of got diverted from the question. Okay. So the question is, at one point is stress a problem during pregnancy in relation to maybe your job? If it's causing severe stress, at what point is it a good idea to cut back in order for your stress to be reduced during pregnancy? Well, you know what? I think that's something that you really need to speak to your specialist about. It's always really important to be able to chart your stress. One of my go-to tips is to have a journal, to write down your thoughts, your feelings, so that you're actually, it's putting it down on paper. So it's out of your mind, it's down on paper, and you're putting substance to it. You can also then reflect back onto your journal, and you can kind of see how your stress levels have either increased or have they plateaued. Was there something specific about your work environment that escalated your stress? Maybe you can just mitigate that part of it and work with your HR department. But if it's something significant, you would need to talk to your physician about, maybe it's time to take a little break from work, and that's absolutely what you need to do. If it's something that you talk to all your supports and your partner, and it's something that you can do financially as well. But it's a good idea. For those of us who have suffered several miscarriages, what are ways to manage stress of a new pregnancy? Oh, yes. And I'm so sorry for all those women and couples that have experienced miscarriages ever so hard. And, I honor each and every one of you for making sure that you take care of yourself, right? It's very important that you take time for yourself after you suffered such a loss. So ways to manage your stress after that is to just be gentle right away. Be gentle on yourself and take that time to, that downtime to be at home and to be in the comfort of your home. It's important also to communicate your feelings, to sit in your feelings, and to be able to talk to your partner about what you're experiencing, because it's okay to have all different types of emotions and all different types of thoughts as you're going through this and as you're grieving. Grief process is different for everybody, from different cultures to to all people of different ages, and it is really important that you honor that time, right? And that you walk through the grief process in your own way. We know that there's, the 5 stages of grief, and, we think that you go through this grief process on a linear way, but you don't. It is, you could go up and down, and you can revisit one stage of grief. You could be, sit in one part of the grief for quite some time, and that's okay. But you have to be able to start talking about it, and through those discussions and your other supports that you have in your circle and your connections, you'll be able to move through that and grieve in your own way. Miscarriages, it's a significant loss. You might want to try some rituals and some ceremonies to honor the loss, right? You can make up a little keepsake box, and you can put a poem in there that you might write to your child. You might, do a craft, or you might write just a little story. You put that in there, and you can revisit that box, throughout your lifetime, right? Whenever you need to, and you can honor that loss and through that. So it's really different for each couple, but it is a time to really slow down. And it is a time to just take care of yourself and be gentle. Okay. Okay, this is another good question from Lisa. What are your tips to cope with stress during the 2-week wait after an embryo transfer? Okay, excellent question. I think it's right now, I compare what we're going through right now to the 2-week wait, because we're in a holding pattern, right? We're in a pause. And in this pause, we really don't have a lot of control of it, right? We're waiting. And there's a lot of things that you can do in this roller coaster of time, because you're going to have different emotions, every day at different points of the day. You would be experiencing different emotions. So I think, once again, it's just going back to your self-care routine. There's many things that you can actually do at that time. You can, with your partner, and I hope that during the 2-week wait, and even right now, that you are communicating your feelings and your thoughts and together, and walking this journey together. It's really important for the women and men to unite and make sure that they're supportive of each other. So one thing that I used to talk to my clients about the 2-week wait, and something fun to do during that time, was an unboxing project. So basically, in preparation for this time, you would both develop or you would both design 7 boxes to make up the 2-week wait. And so each day you would open up a box that your partner did, and there would be an activity to do. It could be a massage. It could be something like a night out for dinner. It could be just a night out a night in watching a movie. And so at least it gives you something to look forward to each day, which I thought was something fun, just to bring a little bit of laughter and fun back into this, it can be stressful 2 weeks, right? Up until the results. I think it's also a lot about practicing your self-care routine. And, as I said about where we're at right now in the world with a pandemic, where we're physically isolating, we should be using our self-care routine and strategies to make sure that we can make it through the day. And when I say the day, I really truly mean it. I mean 24 hours. Let's focus on the day. Let's get through this, this moment, and be present. And so some of the things that I think you could do, we mentioned journaling. Journaling is a really good thing to do. You can write down your thoughts and your feelings. When we go through infertility and the struggles around it, we have a lot of different feelings, a lot of different thoughts, and there's a tendency to have limiting beliefs. And when you have these limiting beliefs or thoughts, it impacts your feelings, and then the feelings impacts your behavior. So when you're at home and you're experiencing some of these thoughts, it's really important to put them down on paper. It really is important to, recognize them and to sit in those feelings, put them down and validate them. There's so many commonalities of walking through this journey together of infertility, but we all have our uniqueness around it. But you'll find that a lot of the feelings that you have or the thoughts are very common. And I think when you put it down on paper, it's really helpful. So journaling is one good thing. And when you're journaling, you can talk about what you're grateful for, who you're grateful to. That's always quite positive. And when we're grateful, the fear that we might hold inside, it goes away. It really does, because you're thinking of the positives and you're thinking about all the, the things that you have in your life. It could just be right now, like we're in our home, so you're grateful for your house, and you're grateful for, it could be your pets, or, it could be that you have the food or the toilet paper in your house. So those are the things that you need to focus on too. Reach out to a therapist. That's something that you could do as well during the 2-week wait, or right now. So face-to-face, so right now, even here at Victory Reproductive Care, all my counseling is on hold, but what we're moving towards now is online counseling. And so this is new for a lot of therapists, and it's new to a lot of clients. So we're kind of moving towards this together, and just trying to support each other through that. But you'll find that if you reach out to some different government sites, or even the clinic that you're working with, they might have some resources, or they should have some resources for online therapy. It's different, but it's something to get used to, and it probably would take a couple of sessions to really be able to feel comfortable doing. But at this time, we just don't know how long we're going to be in a position where we won't be able to have face-to-face support. So, research, look into the online face-to-face therapy. It would be beneficial. Just a couple of other things to do maybe during the 2-week wait to help you is just do some different rituals through the day. Make a plan of different activities to do. Different, if there's Netflix or movies that you want to watch, or if it's about meals, healthy meal preps, It's just setting the day and having different activities instead of a free-floating day, something to anchor into at different points. It'll help the time pass. Okay. And also just doing some light exercises. You know, we talk about being emotionally fit and being physically fit, just to be gentle with that and with the advice of your doctor. But, you know, it's positive to make sure that you connect the whole body and mind. Okay. So I hope that helped. We can go into some other self-care kind of strategies later on. So how does anxiety affect fertility? Okay, so it's a really good question. So anxiety, stress. So stress, let me just take a sip of water here. So we all experience stress, but chronic stress is when we really need to take action and really start to be very conscious of our self-care plan and our team of supports and professionals, both informal supports through family and friends and through your professionals. Because what stress does is after a while it starts to it starts to change your thought processes, and it starts to really put you in a place where you're starting to have limiting thoughts and limiting beliefs, right? Stress will start to isolate you, and it'll start pushing you into a place of shame and blame, and these thought processes start to escalate, and they become wider and more profound. And when we are in stress, we start to have higher cortisol levels and adrenaline, and what that does is it puts us in a place of fear, and it puts us into our brain and into a place where it's in the back brain thinking, and that's in your fight or flight response. So your nervous system is on fire, and your heart's beating a lot faster, and you're breathing a lot faster, and it really does impact on your ability to think with the higher brain and think about strategies to calm you down. So stress is really based on the fight or flight response, and it has an impact on you calming yourself down. You know, you feel like there's a threat right in front of you all the time. And this is what stress is. It's the invisible threat, the invisible bear in front of you. And so your nervous system is always working at a very high level to free up that stress level and to free up that threat. So we have to act really, really consciously around our self-care skills, so we calm ourselves down. Even breathing. So, you know, we laugh, we breathe all the time, right? But we don't do conscious breathing. So that's one thing that I talk about with my clients is about, soothing your nervous system. So, just by breathing, do the square box breathing. You can breathe in 4 seconds, and hold it, and then out 4 seconds. And you repeat that. You can repeat it for 5 minutes. And through that process of just simply being conscious with your breathing, put your hand on your belly, you can feel your physical body, and you might feel that your heartbeat starts to slow down. These are the things you need to do. So when stress, if you have too much stress, it impacts infertility, because when you're in that fight or flight response, it sends cortisone through your body, and it's saying this is not the right time to conceive. This is not the right time to have a baby, because there's a threat. And so there's research that states what the adrenaline and cortisone levels do with inflammation, and really what your brain is telling your body to do is to protect itself. So it's going to your major organs just to survive. So it's really important to be able to lower your stress levels for successful conception. Okay. So So there's some other questions here that were probably for Dr. Victory. And because they're quite medical questions. So I'm going to go to Instagram. Are you still taking appointments? We got a referral. Okay. We got a referral to you through Dr. Victory. However, not able to make an appointment before everything. Yeah. Sorry about that. So it's a practice. Most social workers right now, and therapists and other professionals are having to do things virtually. So we'll see what happens and with the pandemic and how things play out. But if things continue the way they are with the physical distancing, I'm going to start personally going to have to open up the online therapy, which I'm excited about. I've done lots of training on it already. I've done at least 6 hours of training through the Canadian government, Ontario Association of Social Workers. And so it is going to be something that I will look into and start to do. So I will call all of my clients definitely to connect with you to advise you if this is going to take place. Okay, but in the meantime, practice self-care, keep yourself comfortable and well, and if you need to talk, you can always call the main office and we can see if we can do something over the phone. Okay, do you offer couples help during their fertility journey, or is it more focused on the woman's mental health? No, I work with couples absolutely through the fertility journey. In fact, we want to see couples together because this is a journey that you walk down together. It's it affects you both. And it might impact you differently, but you do need to listen to each other's feelings and thoughts and validate them. Women they go through so much, and physically and emotionally, and it's so hard. And I say to you all, you're warriors and you're amazing. And the men, and thank you when you come to therapy, or you sit with your partner and your wife, and you're there to really listen. And you might have this feeling to problem solve and want to what's the answer, what's the solution, but sometimes your wife just needs to have you present and to validate and to listen. So I work with lots of individuals, lots of women that come on their own, but it's always a conversation that we have. We always talk about the husband. I always give them the option. Maybe he just likes to come in, or he would like to come in for 15 minutes and we can have a chat. Or maybe even for 5 minutes, just to open the door. Many people that I see have never even seen a therapist before, because infertility might have been their very first struggle. It might have been their really significant trauma event that they have walked through, and it's hard. It's hard to go through this alone, and you need to lean in on your professional team. And like I said with the article that I just read around fact or fiction, that's when people are experiencing infertility, so many of them don't even reach out for support to their family and to their friends. They don't know how to explain it, or they have this sense of shame, or these feelings that it's really hard for them to talk about what they're going through, even though it's 1 in 8 couples that experience it. So when they do come to a specialist and they start receiving care from their specialized team, they recognize this is something that is beyond our own kind of skill set, and we need to reach out and lean on somebody else. So I think therapy is face-to-face therapy is great, and I do advocate for it. But you all have your own strengths and skills and your own resiliency. one thing you have to remember is that, you know, you have done many things in your life to overcome stresses and barriers. You've been successful in your employment or through your schooling, and you have successful friendships. So it's something that you need to always reflect on, and that you do have these internal strengths to help you be successful through this this journey that is ever so complex, and you know, it really does have a big impact emotionally on you, but you do have that internal strength, and it's okay to talk about it. So yeah, you know, you can come in as couples or individuals, and we highly recommend that you come in together. So here's the question from Instagram. What's your best tip for stress reduction? I get stressed about the fact that I'm stressed. Very common statement. So stress reduction. So what's good for me is going to be different for you, and because we're all so unique, and we're also in different parts of our fertility journey. So I think that you really have to do a lot of soul searching, and you need to be able to sit in a place where you can actually look and feel your different emotions, journal the different thoughts that you're having, so that you can you know, you can see areas where you might have to focus a little bit more. You might have more stress at work, right? And because of maybe, you know, you're having to come to the clinic in the morning, and you feel like you're late, and you haven't made plans with you know, your supervisor or your HR department around, you know, flexible schedules. So that's a lot of stress, right? So I think that you need to kind of figure out where you're most stressed, and then focus on that. You'll also find that it's probably through, you know, it's in different areas, right? So you might want to kind of start in a place where you can start in an area where you're going to see a lot of success at reducing that stress to get your confidence up, right? So you're going to have that success in lowering that stress level. But one thing that I find is extremely helpful for stress reduction is movement. I am a big believer in exercise. I talk about emotionally fit. I also, you know, talk about being having the physical fitness too, just like you moving. And when I talk about fitness, it could be a, you know, dancing, it could be singing, it could be moving around in different ways. You could, you know, so that you're active, and that will generate different, you know, feelings inside you, right? When you're dancing, it's pretty hard to feel sad if you're dancing around with a fun, fast tune. So I think it's something like that you can use. I always find that to be quite helpful. I think another tip is the ability to zoom out. So what that is the ability to look at your whole self. When we walk through the journey of infertility, we start to really focus on that part of us, the part of our struggles, you know, the shame and the blame, you know, what is happening, what's wrong. And so I find that if you take the bigger approach and you look at all the parts of who you are, right? You're a wife, or you're you know, in your profession, you're an employee, or maybe you're like a really good dancer, or maybe you're a really good singer, and you know, you're a daughter, and maybe, you know, you're a pet owner, and you have all these different areas of your life that you can focus on, right? And so I think it's about zooming out and seeing where you're at in your life and the big picture, right? And with infertility, there's this sense of urgency, an urgency to conception, and an urgency to parenthood. And I think sometimes it's okay to take that pause, like right now, right? And we know about the advisory right now around conceiving. And so right now is a really good time to be able to zoom out and take that pause and look at the other areas of your life that you are, doing really well at, and look at the strengths from those other areas. And I think that would help you out quite a lot at reducing your stress. Okay. Okay. So I think that was Wendy who just sent out a comment. Glad to have you host the show. I'm doing great. Well, thank you. It's my first time, so I hope I'm answering your questions and giving you some guidance and some supportive strategies and tips to stay emotionally well during your journey to conception. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about here at the clinic with Dr. Victory, for all of our clients and our patients, at the very first intake meeting, we provide an online course. It's called Organic Conceptions. So this is a course that is focused on the journey to parenthood and beyond. And it's all about emotional health. And it's written by Mark Sherman, who had 10 years, a 10-year journey to parenthood. And he joined partnership with Kate Webster, who is a psychologist, a researcher, and they interviewed thousands and thousands of couples that had reproductive support and were in this journey, and they found so many themes and so many psychological kind of transitions that all families go through. And so what they decided to do is to design a course, an online course, that a family could work through at home in their own time. And so at Victory Reproductive Care, what we do is we give them a 3-month free session, and that's plenty of time to go through the work, the actual course, which is 8 hours. And it's really beneficial. It really normalizes your feelings and some of the limited beliefs that you experience, and some of the thought patterns, and some of the behaviors that are a result of those thoughts. So it's a really good course, and it's at home in the comfort of your home. So that's always really good. And another thing about this course, which I think is really positive, is that it sets the stage of talking about your feelings, and sets the stage of sitting in your feelings and being able to process them, right? And then being able to understand that so many other couples go through the same feelings and the same thoughts, and that you're not alone in this process. Going back to the research again, 1 in 8 couples experience infertility. So you are definitely not alone. And at Victory Reproductive Care, we always say that you never walk alone here. We're always here for you. All of us, right? From Dr. Victory to myself, and from Jen Strong, our naturopathic doctor, and our new dietitian. We're all here to support you. Absolutely. So it's a really good course to engage in, and then it might give you that ability to take that next step to face-to-face therapy, if that's what you feel is something that would be good for you. Okay. Advice on dealing with feelings of loss of control, bodily autonomy due to clinic shutdowns. I feel neutered. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, Rose. It is a very hard time. Loss is, it is definitely a loss right now, and we understand that it's such a difficult time what we're going through with this pandemic, and it evokes so much feeling. But we do have to recognize that it is a loss, and we talk about the grief process, right? Remember, we spoke about that earlier on in our session, and that it's okay to feel angry, right? It's okay, like, this was the time if you thought this was the time for me, I was ready to do this month, and it stopped, right? And that's the reality for a lot of couples, unfortunately. But you're going to have to be able to recognize those feelings inside and understand that you are going to grieve that, it might have happened, and it's okay to feel those feelings, right? And please talk to your partner or your connections about that, and those feelings. And it's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to cry about it, right? It's okay. And then just remain hopeful. That's one thing, in my room, my therapy room, I have a sign about hope. It's something that you always have to anchor into. There's going to be time in the future. And, take this time now to stay emotionally well and to build your resilience up. Take the time now to calm your nervous system, to soothe your nervous system, so you're not in that fight or flight spot where you're, that's spiking your adrenaline or spiking your cortisone levels. You want to be in a calm state, and take the time now to really focus on yourself, and to help your your cognitive abilities, but your cognitions and your mind and your nervous system to just relax and get into a homeostasis in a very balanced place, so that when you do come back, when the clinics do open, because they're going to open again, and we're all going to be wrapping around you and working really, really hard. And I know all the nurses and Dr. Victory works so hard making sure that he does things quickly for you, and at your decision, and that you are in control of it, but at the moment that you just have to wait until the clinics open up again. But there's so much you can do at home to keep yourself healthy and positive, and just keep working hard and be gentle on yourself and be compassionate at all the things you've already done. And you've already made it through so much already. So give yourself a lot of praise, and be kind on yourself. Okay. Another thing you can also do, which I like to do at home, and I talk to my clients, is about creating a little Zen den. It's a place in your home that is your place for comfort. It's a place where you can go to. It's already set up. You can have it's like a little office, but you can put things in there that are soothing. You can put a pillow in there that you can hold on to. You put a nice cozy blanket in there that you can wrap yourself up in, like a little cocoon, if that's what you need. Have some candles, have your music in there, so your calming music, if that's that helps you balance your emotions. So have that safe place in your home where you can sit in your feelings. If it evokes, tears, that's okay, right? It's part of the process. It'll get you to a place where the next time you have the same feelings, you might not experience so much deregulation. You might not experience so much of that fear or anxiety in you, because you keep going back to that place of safety in that area of your home, right? Over time, if we repeat all these different techniques that we do on a daily basis, they're going to give you that internal resiliency to deal with that next big barrier or that next big event that you have to walk through. So having this little area in your home that's all set up, that's all about you, all your favorite things to keep you comfortable, is a really good thing to do right now. We have lots of time in our home, so maybe you can start doing some of that. Okay. So just looking at some more questions. Okay, so that's the same one about the coming in for sessions. Let's see, sorry, I just keep scrolling. There's lots of people on tonight. I hope everyone's doing well. And once again, got to give you kudos for planking the curve and making sure we do our thing, and remembering what Bruce Perry said, the psychiatrist, around the connections are everything for us, and relationships. That's where we find our joy. And we, at this moment, we hear about social distancing. It's not, it's physical distancing. Connect with others, and through FaceTime, through the phone, through Skype. This is the time to really be creative and make sure you stay connected to others, right? When we're experiencing stress, it's really important. One thing that's really helpful is having a purpose, right? At this time when we feel like, what are we doing? We're just at home, and even with work, if you're working from home, it's has its own struggles, or it's limited. So it's important to do something purposeful. So if it's about helping out somebody virtually, then do it, right? Take that, step out of your comfort zone, like I am today, hosting this all by myself. But get out of step out of your comfort zone and do something purposeful, because it really will make you feel good, and be creative around that. Okay, can you speak to those who are, I think we already, we already did that question. All right, so is there any other questions that you might have for me today? I think it's also a really good idea to talk to your specialist at the clinic to see if they do have any free online courses or free resources, tips, tip sheets that might talk about different podcasts or audiobooks or websites that you can go on at this time. It's a really good time to be able to, because we have so much time right now, to be able to go into those sites and see the common kind of discussions and the common threads that people go through during this, the journey to parenthood. There's so many websites out there, and there's so many great tips and great therapists and women and men with lived experience that share their story and their resources. So it's a really good time to go on and do some research, do some exploration, and like I said, talk to your specialist and see if they have any tips or any of those links that you can link up to for that support. Lots of stuff online right now with yoga and guided meditation, Pilates. These are great things to do at home to keep your body moving. They're going to keep your different hormones in your body at level. Like I said, we want to soothe that nervous system, and we want to get to a place of homeostasis. So it's just a good time to focus on yourself and have those conversations with your partner and have some fun, right? We're in a pause right now. And in this pause, we have to take advantage of making ourselves be whole again, and to zoom out and see all the great things about you and all the great things that you've done in the past and all your great ideas and your creative self, and that you're so much more than your infertility. Absolutely. You're a whole person, mind and body and spirit. So let's just check to see if anybody has any other questions. Yeah, some of those other questions will be for Dr. Victory. I don't know if he'll be back. Doesn't look like he's going to be back from the hospital. So I guess just want to go through some strategies again, some for your self-care plan, and just write it up and you can change it. It's quite fluid. It's going to be different for everybody, but here are some of the areas that you can focus on. So we talked about journaling, so it's about reflecting on the things that are influencing us, right? Influencing our emotions. So write down some of your thoughts. Practice gratitude. Write down, what you're grateful for. And you can do this any time of the day, morning, noon, or night, whatever helps you. We talked about the Zen Den. We talked about reaching out to a therapist online right now, and we all have to get comfortable with that. But it'll happen. Look at some online courses. Like I said, we do organic conceptions here at the clinic, and it's amazing. Take the time to be mindful and to live in the present. Really important right now with all the media and how stressful it is watching the different stations on TV, and it's all around us on our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, on the TV, where there's a lot of negative media, and we have to be careful of the snowballing effect. We might sit down on the couch and watch a little bit of TV, and then our stress levels are going to get higher, and they're going to start to peak because of all this negative information coming back. So be mindful of shutting off the TV or shutting off all that information so that you stay well. Okay, be informed, but we don't have to keep hearing traumatic things over and over again. Keep track of how your body is reacting. Make sure that you're keeping track of your breathing, right? Do those breathing exercises, or your heart rate, right? Put your hand on your heart and feel it. And this is you. Honor yourself. And acknowledge when you feel that your body is being aroused in that way or stimulated too much. You need to calm it down. Acknowledge your strengths. Like I said, we all have our strengths, and really take time to do that. With infertility, sometimes it robs us of seeing how amazing we are and our whole self. So please take the time to sit and look at all your strengths. Remember all your connections. Like I said, it's physical distancing, not social distancing. So remember your connections and stay engaged. Affirmations, we talk about this all the time. Affirmations, put them around your mirror, your bathroom or your bedroom, wherever you want, and whatever you feel like, I'm awesome. Put it up on a sticky note in the mirror so you can see it. Put it up in a place where you're going to see it often. You can say it's a pause, right? I can get through this. I've got these strengths inside. I'm beautiful. I'm compassionate. Put those things up all around to keep you happy and content. The other thing is learn to trust your body. I talked about the Zen Den. Trust your body, and you learn to love your body. It is beautiful. It's brilliant. What it can do, the mind-body connection. It's absolutely amazing. So we need to honor it and be kind to it, and go to your Zen Den and wrap yourself up in your blanket so that you can feel your body and just sit in it and honor it. Like I said, exercise. I think motion is potion, and be physically fit and emotionally fit. Do your breathing exercises, and that's quite an easy place to start. Always remain hopeful. Okay, so I don't think that, I'll check one more time to see if we have any more questions. Any more? Do I have to go back up here? I think we covered all the questions. So if we don't have any more, I'll just, we'll have to say goodbye. I just want everyone to, I'll give you a virtual hug right now. Everyone just put their arms around themselves and give yourself a hug, because you're amazing. You're doing so well right now. And this pause will be over, and we'll be all back together face to face. But be well and be safe, and thank you so much.